Political watchers are keeping a very keen eye on the Ontario riding of Mississauga-Lakeshore this evening. A by-election is being held there to replace outgoing Liberal Sven Spengeman. And there's a record number 40 candidates vying for the seat. Now, the most high profile includes Charles Sousa, a former Liberal Finance Minister of Ontario, Ron Chinzer, who is a police officer who is running for the Conservative Party, and Julia Cole, who has worked as a provincial constituency assistant who is running for the NDP. So, to talk about the significance of this by-election, we're happy to have back on the program tonight Éric Grenier, political writer, polls analyst, and the mind behind the Writ. Éric, nice to see you.
Happy to be here.
Now, listen, I should put it out there that you and I are speaking right now before the results are actually released. Just to put it out there because people might be seeing this online. But let's begin with significance here, and more specifically here, the significance of this by-election for the Conservative Party. This is the first by-election to be held since Pierre Poilievre won the Conservative leadership race. Just how important is a win tonight for the party?
Well, it's important because it will signify that Pierre Poilievre is able to win the kind of ridings that the Conservatives need to win in order to form a government. The last time the Conservatives won this part of the country was in the 2011 election when Stephen Harper formed a majority government. So it's the kind of riding that you would expect to see in a Conservative government. So I think that is why this is going to be a really important test for Pierre Poilievre. This is his first time that the Conservative Party under his leadership is going to go to the voters. And this is the kind of riding that, you know, it ranked 149th on the Conservative list in 2021 in terms of their margin of victory or defeat. And that's where you are if you're going to be, you know, forming a minority government, 149 seats, something like that for the Conservatives. So if they're not able to win this, or at least put up a good show, it does suggest that the Conservatives might have some work to do, that they haven't actually made that much progress since the last election.
Okay. So that is what's on the line for the Conservative Party. Let's talk about the Liberals now, because arguably that party has the highest profile candidate in Charles Sousa. What would a win or a loss in this by-election mean for the federal Liberals?
Win is what would be expected. This is a Liberal riding. It's been a Liberal riding since 2015. It's stuck with the party in the last two elections when they won a minority government, and they have a good candidate in Charles Sousa, someone who has name recognition that none of the other candidates have. So if the Liberals are able to win this, it's what's really expected. And when you're a government that's been in power now for, you know, approaching 8 years, or its 8th year, there is always going to be some attrition. So if the Liberals are able to still hold on to this and more or less retain the same amount of the vote that they had in the last election, that would be a strong sign for them that, you know, they can keep going in this direction for a while. If they come up short, if we see that their vote comes down a lot or that they lose the riding, then some serious questions are going to be asked that if the Liberals can't win this riding when they have a good candidate, what does that mean for the state of this government? So there is a lot at stake, and especially for the party that holds the seat. If you hold the seat, you're supposed to keep holding it.
Mm-hmm. Let's also talk about, as I said, the record number of candidates running in this by-election. There is, of course, the NDP, the People's Party candidate as well, dozens of others, though. How does that affect the final results? Who has most to lose with so many independents running?
That is an open question. This is a record for the number of candidates. There's 40. The previous record was 21. That was in the last federal election in St. Boniface, St. Vital in Manitoba. And this is a protest kind of thing where it's against the Liberals' decision to renege on their electoral reform promises. So it is a little bit of a prank. There's going to be a huge ballot. There's going to be a lot of names on that ballot. And people have to go through all of those independent candidates to find the actual candidate that they might want to vote for. If it's the Conservatives, the Liberals, New Democrats, whatever. That will be a bit of a challenge for voters, but will it have an actual impact? I'm not sure. I would think that most of the people who vote for independent candidates would have done so anyway. The fact that there's so many more choices isn't going to increase the number of people who will vote for those candidates. When we saw what happened in the St. Boniface riding, there wasn't a huge turnout for those independents. They all just split a very small amount of the vote. That's what I'm expecting to happen tonight, but it'll be curious to see if there'll be more spoiled ballots, for example, because if you have to choose from 40, I guess there's more of a chance that you might make a mistake. Yeah,
in fact, Elections Canada apparently has had to come out with a special ballot with 2 columns in order to accommodate everybody who's running. Listen, I'm also wondering about the provincial impact on this vote because, you know, of course, Ontario, like all the provinces, are dealing with a healthcare crisis right now. Ontario, for its part, does have a surplus, but is not committed to more funding dollars for healthcare. Instead, they're asking for more money out of Ottawa, whose share funding is less than a third when it comes to healthcare. So what kind of bearing does the provincial picture have on a by-election like the one we're watching tonight?
I think it does have an impact on support for the Conservatives, because we saw this in the last few federal elections where the Conservatives were, we don't know if they were correct or not, but blaming Doug Ford for some of their poor performances in the GTA. And we've already seen some indications of that they might already be trying to set up what could be disappointing results for them there. And since we do have in Ontario and federal politics that balancing act where voters tend to want a different government in Ottawa than they have in Toronto, that would play to the advantage of the Liberals here. So if there are people right now that are upset at the PC government, then voting against the Conservatives might be a way to express that. But Charles Sousa as well has some links with the Ontario Liberals, who are not exactly popular either. So it could have an impact going both ways.
Well, we are watching very closely. Éric, it was good to speak with you. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you.
And that's Éric Grenier of the Writ.